Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stacey and I am a Chicago homemaker, housewife, and stay-at-home mom. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about my company and the transitions that I'm making around business and my company as I am shifting into my career as a homemaker. So if you're interested in that, please keep watching. So someone asked a question on another one of my videos, and I think the question is, did you close your business? How's your company? Something to that effect. And I wanted to answer that question for posterity, but also because I think I am actively trying to figure that out, right? I am actively trying to figure out what is going on. So if you've been with me for a while, you know that I have a company. I've been an entrepreneur for several years now. I restarted my company, 7 years ago? So 2018, is that 7 years ago? So I restarted my company 7 years ago. I was coming off of an experience with nervous exhaustion and just really rebuilding my life all over again. And it was just an incredible experience to even imagine that was 7 years ago. There's a part of it that feels like it was more than 7 years ago, but then there's a part of it that also feels like it was just yesterday, right? So anywho, when I rebuilt my company, I built it different than the first company that I had created, in that this company was designed with multiple revenue streams. And at one point I had 5 revenue streams, and I eventually streamlined things, and it's 3 revenue streams. And so there was the speaking revenue stream, there was the coaching revenue stream, and then there was the influencing revenue stream. And where I am at right now, what I want my career to be is I want to be a homemaker and a stay-at-home mom, that's, and a housewife. That's what I want the career to be. And also, I am a person who, under the influencing stream of my business, have figured out how to make a living being myself, right? I've figured out how to make a living just by existing and showing up. So right now, as you're watching this video, I'm gaining AdSense revenue off of it if you watch the ads, right? And there is a component of me that really struggles with that, where I'm just don't post the content. And then you don't right? You could just be this homemaker, stay-at-home mom, housewife person, just don't post the content. But that is in conflict with the part of me that's well, I process and I heal so well through talking out loud, and I want to share, and it helps me to be able to document it because I don't live in the same city with my family, and my family watches my videos, and it's a good way for them to be able to see what's going on. But more so than that, I process through talking out loud. I'm one of those people who has to talk, and in my mind, I'm always talking to an audience. It's literally it's almost I have not digested something until I have expressed my opinions or thoughts about it out loud, right? And so content creation, which happens to be the way through to influence, it ends up being that, right? And so there's a part of me that's okay, well, just don't create content, or if you do create content, turn off monetization. But the part of me that's business and entrepreneurial and thinking about the future, her future, my future, I'm why would I do that? If I'm going to create the content anyway, I might as well leave the monetization on. And so I share all that to say that in my mind, right? In my mind, because I'm living the dream. This is the dream. Okay. If I could create a handful more of these little humans, this is my living dream. So there is a part of me that's we'll close the company, because the company is work that I wanted to do, and it's something that I am skilled in being able to do, but so much of my work has been a means to free me to get to here, right? I entrepreneured because I enjoy business, entrepreneurship, and learning and personal growth, but I also entrepreneured because I wanted to be able to have the freedom in my life to be able to, let's just say I got married and my husband needed me to go somewhere for his company. I wanted the ability to be able to do that without having to stress. If I needed to be at home with my kiddo, I wanted to be able to be with my kiddo and not have to stress. And for those of you all who are not familiar with my story, like I had my first child when I was 18 years old, and I went immediately to college with him, and I didn't get the experience of being able to stay at home. I got as close as I possibly could because we lived in the dorm together, and my mom would come and watch him in between my classes. But the thing that I always wanted to do was just be a mom. Like I just wanted to be with my son. But because of how old I was and because of the background that we came from, I knew that the only way to be able to change our family dynamic, to alter the opportunities that he would have in his future, was for me to get an education. Education is foundational to the success that I have experienced in my life. And so what I did with my first child is I went to school and I raised him. And I was fortunate enough that those first 2 years I didn't work. I went to school, which is a form of working, but it's different than like actually having to like leave and stuff like that. And I feel very fortunate to have had that opportunity to be able to parent that way. But the dream has always been to stay at home with my child. That has always been the dream. So long-winded way of saying that because of the way that my company has been built the second time, closing it down completely is silliness on top of silliness. Like it just doesn't make sense to do that, especially since I'm still going to be doing things that have an opportunity to earn revenue. That said, the intention and the priority and the energy that I would put into building my company, that is the biggest thing that I would say is different or has changed, right? I have made a conscious decision to not actively seek speaking engagements. If a speaking opportunity comes to me during this year and even last year, because typically my year is booked, or excuse me, my speaking engagement is booked anywhere from 6 to 9 months in advance. So last year when I got pregnant and people were reaching out to me for this year, and they were like, what about January? What about March? What about right? Like I already knew I was going to have a baby. So I was saying, well, I won't be available for speaking engagements until such and such time. So I was already slowing down my speaking circuit, if you will, last year, because I knew in terms of availability, like I do not want to be away from my human. And I know it seems like, oh, well, just take her with you. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. It is a lot to take a brand new human with you. And I didn't want to do that. I want to be at home with her. Like I just want to be in the house with her and like be in our neighborhood. Like that's the way that I imagined it. The way that I imagined it in my mind. Like that's how I did it. So even though I'm pretty sure I could have written into my writer, like, I have a child now and I need the care to come. And, I'm pretty sure the companies would have been willing to make that investment. I didn't want to do it that way. So I would say the leg of my business in terms of revenue that I pull back on the most is speaking, because speaking typically involves travel. That isn't to say that if something comes up, I'm not going to do it, but it is to say that I'm not putting energy towards it. There is no line item right now as it relates to the structure of my company that is associated with speaking. If it happens, it will be a very special event where it happens, because you are asking me to leave my human, leave my husband, leave my home. You're asking me to leave my H's. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to leave my H's. So that's speaking. And then on the coaching side, you guys know that I have finally figured out, with the help of a super fantastic, amazing coach, how to create group coaching. And during my pregnancy, that was something that I chose to close, because from a energy standpoint and like capacity, like I just didn't have the capacity to show up and coach. And more so than anything, it was more mental. So with coaching, you have to hold space and be able to hear what people are saying, but you also have to hear what they're not saying. And when I got pregnant with my pregnancy symptoms, and I was so overwhelmed physically that I literally just had absolutely no mental capacity, because my physical was so there was so much going on. And so I could not, like in a group coaching session, track what my clients were saying. And because I couldn't track what my clients were saying, I wasn't able to offer coaching, because in a group coaching session, you're coaching, yes, the person in front of you, but it is also your job to, I want to use the word extrapolate, but I don't know if that's the right word for right now. It's your job to expand the one person's coaching question to make it relevant to, I know it's nap time. It's nap time. It's time to take a nap. You expand that so that the other people that are on the call can also find value from the answer that you give to this individual person. My mental capacity to do that quickly, which is a part of the requirement for coaching, absolutely not. I had no capacity for that. So in that regard, group coaching was immediately, like, not immediately, but yeah, I guess immediately. Once I realized that, immediately I closed that down, and that's been closed since pregnancy. Then in postpartum, I was like, okay, maybe I'll have the capacity. Absolutely not. What I realized is I have something called, is it postpartum preoccupation? Baby preoccupation? Oh man, it was just a term that I was reading about. Postnatal preoccupation. I will put it on the screen. But I have that, which is a natural instinct that I'm very grateful to know the name for. I was like, I cannot imagine right now having to think about like a coaching client, or having to think about the answer or the number to put in a spreadsheet. Like, I was like, I could not imagine having to think about that. The only thing that I care about is this human. That's it. Like that, like my whole, like my brain, all of my resources were like, but what about the baby? What about the baby? And it's a healthy thing that happens hormonally, where your brain essentially gives you the ability to focus on the baby, so that way you can nurture the baby and all this other stuff. And I say all that to say, when it comes to coaching, that was the only capacity that I had. Group coaching was just not a possibility. One-on-one coaching. I have some incredible one-on-one coaching clients who were very patient and understanding as I was coming through postpartum. And so I was able to maintain a coaching relationship with them because they are incredibly flexible, incredibly patient, and just very willing to work around this as my priority. So for that reason, I do have a handful of one-on-one coaching clients that I see, like, and I would say regularly, but not as frequently as I did prior to having a baby. So last but certainly not least, there is the influencing leg of my business. And this is probably sleepy baby. So what was I gonna say? Oh, so influencing, that leg of my business is still open and running, but again, very similarly to coaching and speaking, it isn't running with the same energy, stamina, intention of, here are my income goals, this is what I'm trying to produce. It's not running with any of that. It's very much, this is the content that I'm going to be sharing anyway. And so if in the background money comes in, wonderful. But it is a very background thing. And I think for me, that's important to say out loud, because sometimes I feel, fraud is a big word. I don't feel like a fraud, but like sometimes I feel like I am betraying the part of me that dreamt of this life of being a stay-at-home parent and being a housewife and being a homemaker. And I understand that I am in a very fortunate position to be able to do that, to have a spouse who wants the same thing and values the same thing and is doing everything that he can to be able to structure our life and set up our life so it can be that way. Like, I understand that I'm very fortunate in that regard. And so there's a part of me that's like, well, you shouldn't do anything because this is the dream that you said you wanted and you need to respect your dream. And there's also maybe a part of me that's like, or else it will be taken away from you. That's pretty dramatic. But, and it's like, I don't want to betray my past self who dreamt of this. And when I say betray, by saying, okay, well, I know that that's what we said we wanted, but you know, that's not what I truly want. I want this to, the betrayal feels like, now that you have what you want, like you are just pushing past it and just barreling down this path that is paved for you, and you're doing that instead of what you said you wanted because that's what's more comfortable, that's what's more celebrated, and maybe even that's what's expected, because it's harder to stop once momentum is going. It's harder to stop and say, thank you very much, people who have supported me, and thank you very much, wonderful company that has supported me, but I don't want to do that. It's very hard to step off that and not feel like a failure or a fraud, or I don't know, like maybe like ungrateful. I think that's the other thing, is like I'm not ungrateful for this incredible company that I've been able to build. And there's this fear that like if I step off of the path of building that company, it will be an expression of me not being grateful for it. I know that that's not true. This is why we do this. So, because I'm hearing myself say that now. That's the feeling. It's not fraudulent. It's that I don't want to feel ungrateful. Like I'm so grateful for my company. Oh no, then I'm just about to get emotional. I'm so grateful for my company. And also, like, it's not the priority right now. And making peace with that as I'm career transitioning into being a homemaker is actually a difficult thing, because as I was saying, like when I do stuff like this, I still earn. And so there's a little part in the back of my mind that's just like, well, you're not being honest. You still have a company. And it's just like, yes, but really what I am is a homemaker. Like, and I think integrity is one of my top values. And so it's coming up against my value of integrity of like, okay, well, what are you? If you're a homemaker, then be a homemaker. If you're a stay-at-home mom, be a stay-at-home mom. And here's the thing, none of these definitions say that I can't work, but my past self said that I couldn't work. My past self said we don't want to work. And so it's like I'm trying to reconcile the priority is I'm a homemaker. If somebody was like, how do you want to be viewed? Homemaker, housewife, stay-at-home mom. That's how I want to be viewed. If you would have asked me 2 years ago how I want to be viewed, it would have been entrepreneur, speaker, writer, right? Like that was the path that I was on, but it's shifted now. And the reason that is important to me is because words mean things. Words mean things. And when I don't have the way to define myself and the world or society or community or others define me, it gets very uncomfortable for me. Like, uncomfortable is not enough. It gets debilitating for me. And in previous decades of my life, I lived by how other people defined me as opposed to how I wanted to define myself, which is why I get so like what is the role? What is the label? Like that serves me very, very well, because it helps me to be able to wrap my mind. And I think it's because I've been someone who's been skilled at many things. I've been someone who could do a lot. And when there's the pressure of somebody else saying, well, this is what you're born to do, or this is what you have to do, and it's not what I want to do, it gets deeply uncomfortable and sometimes debilitating for me on the inside. And I don't want to re-experience that. I don't want to crash out because I didn't give myself the permission to be able to pivot. And that's ultimately what this is. It's a pivot, but it's very much a planned pivot. It's a planned pivot. And I want to make room for it looking different than what my past self imagined, because I don't know if my past self imagined it could be this good, right? Like I'm living in my favorite city. I got this super fine, handsome, like clever, like super patient, health conscious, just beautiful man who like loves me to pieces. Like what? And I have this like incredible new human, and her and her brother, they're bonded and they love each other. Like I'm living like some dreams that people are like, oh, that's impossible. That's impossible. Like, and so like there's an excitement about it. There's like oh my gosh, like you live in Chicago. Like I live in Chicago in my favorite neighborhood. Like I'm getting to experience like so many of these dreams, and like I want to be able to bask in them. And I think because I come from a background that says like, well, the cost of your dreams is going to be so great. Like, watch out. Like, right. Like, that's still a thing that I need to get rid of. Because I could just enjoy myself. Like, right. I could just relax, but that's not the reality for me. So all that to say, to answer your question, I have a different company now than the company that I had before. Because I have chosen to pivot from that company into the homemaking space. And so yeah, so it's different. It's different. I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but this is very helpful for me. So thank you so much for asking the question. Keep your questions coming so that I can answer them out loud so that we can figure out, because I will have clarity on this within the year, because that's just the type of person that I am. Talk to you soon. Bye.